Kevin Stewart was a dedicated player of Grand Theft Auto Online. He had been playing for years, developing a network of friends from all over the world. Among them was a girl from Japan, Momo Kawashima. They met in a server and quickly bonded over their shared love for the game. Kevin and Momo spent countless hours online together, completing missions and chatting about their lives. They even took their friendship off the game, messaging each other on Facebook during their free time. They shared jokes, memes, and updates about their everyday lives. One day, Kevin proposed the idea of meeting in person. He was surprised to learn that Momo lived in Ori, Japan. Despite the distance, Kevin was determined to meet her and offered to pay for her trip to Toronto, Canada. Momo was initially hesitant, but Kevin's sincerity won her over. He arranged everything for her, from the flight tickets to the accommodation. He wanted her to have the best experience in Toronto. Momo arrived in Toronto just in time for Christmas. Kevin had arranged a small party with their mutual online friends. They spent the holidays getting to know each other better, deepening their connection. After the new year, Momo returned to Japan. Kevin missed her company and realized how much he enjoyed having her around. He decided to plan a surprise visit to Japan to see her again. Kevin managed to take a few weeks off work and flew to Warai. Momo was surprised and delighted to see him. He stayed with her in her shared apartment, where he met her roommate, Miho Nishizumi. Miho was just as friendly as Momo. They all got along well, going out together and exploring the city. Kevin felt at home in Japan, despite the cultural differences. During his stay, Kevin and Momo's bond grew even stronger. They shared their dreams, fears, and hopes. They were no longer just online friends, they were best friends, partners in every sense of the word. One day, Momo asked Kevin if he would like to live with her in Japan permanently. Kevin was taken aback, but also excited. He agreed, looking forward to starting a new chapter of his life with Momo. Kevin returned to Toronto to sort out his affairs. He sold his belongings, said goodbye to his friends, and prepared to move to Japan. It was a daunting task, but he was eager to start his new life. Upon his return to Japan, Kevin and Momo set up their shared space. They decorated the apartment together, making it a home. They lived comfortably, enjoying each other's company. Kevin learned the Japanese language and customs thanks to Momo and Miho. He got a job at a local gaming company, putting his love for games to good use. He felt content and happy in his new home. They continued to play Grand Theft Auto Online, but now they were in the same room, laughing and teasing each other. Their love for the game had brought them together, and now they were living their dream. Kevin and Momo's relationship showed that love knows no boundaries. They overcame the distance, cultural differences, and language barriers. Their story proved that sometimes love can be found in the most unexpected places. Their story also served as an inspiration to their online friends, showing them that real connections can be made even through a virtual platform. They became a symbol of hope and love in their gaming community. Today, Kevin and Momo continue to share their love for games and each other. They still play Grand Theft Auto Online, but their lives have changed drastically. They are no longer just online friends, they are a family. They often reflect on their journey, marveling at how far they've come. From playing games online to living together in Japan, their story is truly a testament to the power of friendship and love. Life may be unpredictable, but for Kevin and Momo, it's the unexpected that made their life beautiful. They wouldn't trade their journey for anything else, cherishing every moment they have together. Even as they face new challenges and adventures, they know they can rely on each other. Their bond, forged through countless hours of gaming, is now their greatest strength. Kevin and Momo continue to share their story, inspiring others to take a leap of faith. Their tale of friendship, love, and gaming continues to resonate with many, proving that love can truly cross borders. As they embark on new adventures, both online and offline, they remain grounded in their love for each other. Their story serves as a reminder that sometimes the most meaningful relationships can start from the most unexpected places. Kevin and Momo's tale may have started in the virtual world of Grand Theft Auto Online, but it has blossomed into a beautiful reality. Their love story, born out of a shared passion for gaming, continues to inspire and touch the hearts of many. As they continue to explore the world together, both in games and in real life, they cherish the bond they've formed. They're not just partners in gaming anymore, they're partners in life, living there happily ever after. Kevin and Momo's story is not just about romance, but also about friendship, shared passions, and the ability to overcome barriers. It's a testament to the power of connection, showing that love and friendship can indeed cross borders. And so, Kevin and Momo continue their journey together, creating new memories and sharing new experiences. Their love story, born in a virtual world, continues to thrive in the real one. They're living proof that sometimes the most extraordinary stories can start from the most ordinary beginnings. And while their story began with a simple online game, it has turned into a grand adventure of love and friendship. As they continue to navigate life together, they remain true to their shared passion for gaming. It's a bond that has brought them together and continues to keep them close. Their story is a beautiful testament to the power of shared passions and love. And so their story continues, filled with love, friendship, and of course, gaming. As they face new adventures and challenges, they do so together, always remembering the shared passion that brought them together. In the end, their story isn't just about a game or a romance. It's about friendship, shared passions, and the power of connection. And as they continue their journey together, they inspire many with their beautiful cross-border love story. Miho Nishizumi was engrossed in her book, enjoying the quiet of her room. However, the serenity was short-lived when a loud crash came from the kitchen, disrupting her peace. She put her book down, deciding to investigate. As Miho left her room, she saw her roommate, Kevin Stewart, furiously tossing food onto the kitchen floor. He was cursing loudly about his corned beef, creating a ruckus. Meanwhile, Momo Kawashima was nonchalantly watching TV, seemingly indifferent to Kevin's tantrum. Miho tried to calm Kevin down, telling him that she had seen Momo feeding his corned beef to some stray cats. At first, Kevin refused to believe her until he dumped the trash can on the floor, revealing the empty corned beef tin. Upon seeing the evidence, Kevin's anger escalated. He began to curse at Momo, demanding that she get rid of the cats she had been feeding. His words fell on deaf ears as Momo continued to watch her show. Kevin's rage caused him to be careless. He nearly tripped on the food he'd thrown earlier and, in his frustration, kicked at it, stubbing his toe in the process. The kitchen was slowly turning into a disaster zone. Miho, in an attempt to pacify Kevin, offered to buy him more corned beef from Walmart. However, Kevin revealed that he was banned from the store for throwing a Big Mac at an employee during a previous incident. To make matters worse, Miho discovered that the mac and cheese she had planned to cook later was now all over the floor. Kevin's tantrum was now affecting her plans too. The situation in the kitchen was going from bad to worse. Amidst his ranting, Kevin made a controversial joke about taking the cats to a Chinese restaurant. This earned him a disapproving glare from both Miho and Momo. Despite his anger, he started cleaning up the mess he had made. As he was cleaning, Miho decided to lighten the mood. She tossed an empty pop bottle into the trash. However, her aim was off, and it hit Kevin instead. In response, he tossed it back, not really angry, but rather amused. The tension in the kitchen gradually subsided as they all started cleaning up. Despite the chaos earlier, they found themselves laughing at the ridiculousness of the situation. The kitchen was slowly returning to its usual state. After the cleanup, Kevin, Miho, and Momo sat down to enjoy the evening together. They watched TV and chatted, putting the earlier incident behind them. The peaceful atmosphere returned to their shared living space. Miho learned that day that living with roommates had its ups and downs. While it could be chaotic at times, it also brought about moments of laughter and bonding. She decided to cherish these moments, no matter how crazy they could be. Kevin, although hot-headed, was not a bad person. He had his quirks and flaws, but also had a good heart. He apologized to Miho and Momo for his actions and promised to control his temper in the future. Momo, on the other hand, seemed to enjoy the chaos, always taking things lightly. She promised to stop feeding stray cats with Kevin's food. However, she couldn't promise not to bring any more strays home. That night, they all went to bed, tired but content. The kitchen chaos had turned into a funny memory, something they would laugh about in the future. This was just another day in their shared home. The next day, Kevin woke up to find a note from Miho on the fridge. It read, "Next time you lose your temper, remember this day and laugh instead." He smiled, realizing he was lucky to have such understanding roommates. Momo found a similar note in her room from Miho. It read, "Remember, not everyone loves cats as much as you do." She chuckled, appreciating Miho's sense of humor and understanding. As for Miho, she was back in her room, once again engrossed in her book. The house was peaceful, just the way she liked it, but she knew that with Kevin and Momo around, a new adventure was just around the corner. Life with roommates was never dull, and Miho wouldn't have it any other way. She loved the thrill and unpredictability that came with it, even if it meant cleaning up the kitchen floor more often than she'd like to. Kevin and Momo were more than just roommates to Miho. They were her friends, her family. They had their differences, but they were always there for each other. And that's what made their shared home special. Every day was a new adventure, a new story to tell. Despite the chaos, they always found a way to laugh and make the most of it. After all, life was all about making memories, and they were doing just that. Miho, Kevin and Momo knew that their time together was precious. They promised to cherish these moments and make more memories. After all, these were the days they would look back on and smile. The kitchen chaos was just another day in their shared home. It was a reminder that life was unpredictable, but that's what made it exciting. They looked forward to more such adventures, more such chaos, and more such memories. That night, as they went to bed, they knew that they had another day to look forward to. A day full of possibilities, a day full of laughter, a day full of memories, and they couldn't wait for it. As Miho closed her book and turned off the light, she couldn't help but smile. She was grateful for her roommates, for their shared home, for their shared memories. She was ready for the adventures that awaited them tomorrow. Kevin Stewart, a middle-aged man with a taste for eccentricities, found himself in the midst of a heated argument with Miho Nishizumi. The topic of their dispute was a broken Elvis clock, a treasured possession of their quirky friend Momo Kawashima. The clock, decorated with the image of Elvis Presley, had stopped ticking, and its hands were frozen in place. Kevin had accidentally knocked it off its perch while trying to fix a chair. Miho accused Kevin of breaking the clock on purpose, which only served to stoke the flames of his anger. In a fit of frustration, he hit a chair, causing it to topple over. "This chair is broken," Miho stated, pointing at the fallen furniture. Kevin was incensed. He had just finished fixing that chair, and he was certain that Miho was the one who had damaged it. In an attempt to avoid Momo's wrath, Miho suggested hiding the clock in the trash. Kevin, though irritated, agreed, figuring it was the best they could do under the circumstances. Later that night, Momo returned home. She was a lively woman with an eccentric personality that matched her unique taste in belongings. Miho and Momo were in the kitchen, chatting about their day when Momo discovered the broken clock in the trash. Her face darkened, her eyebrows furrowed, and her lips formed a tight line. Momo, her mood soured, stormed off to Kevin's room with a lighter in her hand. Miho followed behind her, pleading with her to calm down and not to do anything rash. Kevin was jolted awake by the smell of burning fabric. He barely had time to react before Momo, in her rage, tried to singe his face with the lighter. Kevin pleaded with Momo to stop, his heart pounding in fear. Despite his pleas, she continued her fiery onslaught, forcing Kevin to wrestle the lighter away from her. With the immediate danger averted, Kevin stumbled into the washroom. Momo, still fuming, threw the broken clock onto the floor near him. In the midst of the chaos, Kevin decided to diffuse the tension with humor. He laid on the floor, pretending to reenact Elvis's death on the toilet. Kevin's impersonation of the king's demise was met with a moment of stunned silence before Miho burst into laughter. She was laughing so hard that she had to lean on the kitchen counter for support. Momo, caught off guard by Kevin's antics, couldn't help but join in the laughter. The tension in the room dissipated, replaced by the sound of their shared mirth. Finally, the laughter subsided, and Momo, still chuckling, picked up the broken clock. She looked at it, then at Kevin, and broke into another fit of laughter. "Kevin, you idiot," she managed to say between her laughter. "I have 5 more of these at home. I just like seeing you guys squirm." The revelation left Kevin and Miho dumbfounded. They had gone through all that chaos over a clock that wasn't even unique. They shared a look of disbelief before bursting into laughter once again. The rest of the night was spent in laughter and shared stories. Momo's anger had dissipated completely, replaced with her usual cheerful demeanor. Kevin, no longer fearing Momo's wrath, joined in the festivities. His anger too was forgotten, replaced by relief and amusement at the absurdity of the situation. Miho, equally relieved, found the whole ordeal hilarious. She promised to help Kevin clean up the mess they had made, a promise she kept the next day. The broken Elvis clock, once a source of tension, became a running joke among the friends. They would often bring it up, leading to fits of laughter and shared memories. Kevin, Miho, and Momo continued to live their lives with their eccentric tastes and oddball humor. Their friendship was strengthened by the bizarre events surrounding the broken Elvis clock. The broken clock, even in its damaged state, remained in the house. It was a constant reminder of the chaos, laughter, and camaraderie that had unfolded that fateful night. And so the story of Kevin, Miho, and Momo serves as a reminder that even in the midst of chaos and confusion, laughter and friendship can shine through. Their shared adventure over the broken Elvis clock, while initially a source of tension, ultimately brought them closer together. And in the end, isn't that what friendship is all about? Kevin Stewart and Momo Kawashima were lounging on their plush beige couch, watching a light-hearted sitcom, when Kevin noticed Momo's complexion. Her normally radiant skin was unusually pale, her lips slightly blue. Momo suddenly lurched forward, a gut-wrenching burp escaping her lips, before she vomited onto Kevin's shirt. "I ain't feeling well," she managed to say before gagging again. Reacting quickly, Kevin grabbed a nearby bucket and held it out for Momo, just in time for the next wave of her sickness. She barely had a chance to thank him before she was heaving again. "I think I just shat myself," Momo confessed, after another gut-wrenching burp. Kevin felt a pang of sympathy for his poor girlfriend. He tried to keep his face neutral, not wanting to add to her embarrassment. Momo choked on her own vomit, the fluid taking a wrong turn down her windpipe. She started gasping for air, her face turning even paler than before. Kevin's heart pounded in his chest. Without wasting a second, Kevin wrapped his arms around Momo's waist and performed the Heimlich maneuver. He had learned it during a first aid course at work, but he never thought he'd have to use it. Momo was on the edge of consciousness, her eyes rolling back when she projectile vomited. Kevin was horrified, but tried to remain calm. He knew panicking would not help the situation. "Momo, it's okay. Try to breathe slowly," Kevin coaxed, trying to soothe her as he led her towards the washroom. She was wheezing heavily, her body shaking from the ordeal. After helping Momo clean herself up, Kevin put her into bed. He tucked the covers around her, his heart aching at the sight of her so frail and vulnerable. He sat by her side, stroking her hair, as he watched her fall into an uneasy sleep. Kevin felt helpless, wishing there was more he could do to ease her suffering. Kevin stayed awake the whole night, watching over Momo. He held her hand, occasionally checking her temperature. He hoped the worst was over and that she would feel better by morning. When the morning light filtered through the blinds, Momo stirred. She opened her eyes to see Kevin, his face etched with worry. She managed a weak smile, whispering, "Thank you, Kevin." Kevin felt a surge of relief wash over him. He smiled back at her, his eyes welling up with tears. "Anything for you, Momo," he replied, squeezing her hand gently. Seeing Momo slowly getting better was the best thing that happened to Kevin that day. He knew they had a long day ahead, but he was ready to face it, knowing Momo was on the mend. Kevin's care and support throughout the ordeal made Momo realize how lucky she was. Despite the unpleasantness of the situation, she felt grateful for having someone like Kevin by her side. The ordeal they went through that night brought them closer than ever before. The challenges they faced together strengthened their bond, making their relationship stronger than ever. Despite the horrible night, Kevin and Momo found a silver lining. They realized how much they cared for each other and how far they were willing to go for one another. As the day wore on, Momo's condition improved. Kevin was by her side the whole time, taking care of her, making sure she was comfortable and doing everything he could to help her recover. That evening, Kevin made a light soup for Momo. He was relieved when she managed to keep it down and even crack a small joke about the previous night. As Momo slowly fell asleep again, Kevin reflected on the events of the past day. Despite the distressing moments, he felt a sense of fulfillment. He was there for Momo when she needed him. The following morning, Momo was feeling much better. She thanked Kevin for his care and support. He smiled, telling her he'd do it all over again if he had to. Their relationship had been tested in an unexpected way, but they'd come through stronger. They realized their love for each other was deep and unwavering, capable of weathering any storm. In the end, the ordeal they had been through served as a reminder of their love and commitment to each other. They knew they could rely on each other in times of need. Kevin and Momo's quiet evening had taken an unexpected turn, but it had only brought them closer. They knew they were ready to face any challenge that came their way. Together, as they curled up on the couch, ready for a quiet evening, they couldn't help but feel grateful. Despite the unfortunate circumstances, they had found a deeper appreciation for each other. Miho Nishizumi left her room and entered the kitchen to find it in chaos. Kevin Stewart was in a rage, tossing food and containers out of the fridge onto the floor. "Kevin, what are you doing?" Miho asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Kevin was in search of his candy and was convinced it was hidden somewhere in the kitchen. Ignoring Miho's plea, Kevin grabbed a crowbar lying nearby and started hitting the fridge, venting his frustration. The sound echoed through the house, startling everyone. Kevin's rampage didn't stop there. In a fit of anger, he flipped the stove, sending pots and pans clattering to the floor. Next, he took aim at the microwave and toaster, smashing them both onto the stove with a loud crash. The kitchen was quickly turning into a war zone. "Fuck y'all! You're always eating my goddamn candy!" Kevin yelled out, his voice filled with rage and frustration. He then tossed some dining room chairs around the room. As Kevin was about to flip the dining table, Miho stepped in and said, "Don't," hoping to prevent more damage. Kevin paused, contemplating his next move. But Kevin's anger was not yet satiated. He swept everything off the table before flipping it over with a deafening crash. The sight was one of utter chaos. Miho decided to leave Kevin alone for a while, hoping he would calm down. She left the kitchen and returned a few minutes later to find Kevin smashing the fridge again. Oh, no, Miho muttered to herself, witnessing the destruction. She felt helpless as Kevin continued his rampage, not knowing what to do. Finally, Kevin stopped, leaning on the crowbar, his face red with exertion. "The kitchen has finally closed," he declared, panting heavily from his destructive spree. Kevin then accused Momo Kawashima, another housemate, of eating his candy. Miho sighed, noticing a bag of candy lying on the counter. It had been there all along. "Kevin, look," Miho said, pointing at the bag. Kevin followed her gaze, and his eyes widened. He had missed the bag in his fit of anger. There was a moment of silence as Kevin stared at the bag. He then let out a laugh, a mixture of relief and embarrassment. "Guess I overreacted a bit, huh?" "A bit? Kevin, you destroyed the kitchen," Miho exclaimed, gesturing around the room. Kevin shrugged, picking up the bag of candy and popping one into his mouth. "Sorry, Miho, I'll clean it up," Kevin said, looking around the mess he had made. He seemed to realize the extent of his rampage now that he had calmed down. Meanwhile, Momo had heard the commotion and entered the kitchen. Her eyes widened in shock as she took in the scene. "What happened here?" she asked, baffled. Miho and Kevin exchanged a look before Miho explained the situation. Momo listened, disbelief evident on her face. "Kevin, you did all this for a bag of candy." Kevin shrugged again, a sheepish grin on his face. "Guess I love my candy," he replied, causing Momo to shake her head in disbelief. Miho just sighed, shaking her head. Cleaning up took the rest of the day. Miho, Kevin, and Momo worked together to restore order to the kitchen. Kevin apologized several times, feeling guilty for his actions. Despite the chaos, the incident brought a strange sense of unity among them. They laughed and joked as they cleaned, turning a stressful situation into a bonding experience. By evening, the kitchen was back to normal. Kevin promised to control his temper in the future, especially when it came to his candy. The girls accepted his promise, hoping he would keep his word. From that day forward, Kevin's candy was marked with his name and kept in a separate box. This ensured no further misunderstanding or candy-induced rampages would occur in the future. Kevin, Miho, and Momo often laughed about the incident, fondly calling it the Candy Chaos. It was a day they would never forget, a testament to their friendship and the craziness they shared. In the end, the Candy Chaos was a chaotic, funny, and unforgettable incident in their lives. It served as a reminder for them to communicate better and to always check the counter before going on a rampage. It was a typical evening for Kevin Stewart and Momo Kawashima. The two of them were sitting on their worn-out couch in their small apartment, engrossed in a movie marathon. The laughter filled the room, creating a warm atmosphere. Suddenly, the laughter was replaced with a scream of pain. Momo doubled over, clutching her stomach, her face twisted in agony. Kevin, caught off guard, watched with wide eyes, his laughter fading into a terrified silence. Panic surged through Kevin as Momo collapsed onto his lap, continuing to cry out in pain. His heart pounded in his chest as he helplessly watched his friend suffer. "I've had stomach cramps since I was a kid," Momo gasped out between sobs, "but they've never been this bad." Her voice was barely a whisper, strained from the pain. Kevin's eyes welled up with tears, his hands shaking, as he tried to comfort her, running his fingers through her hair. The sight of Momo in so much pain was more than he could bear. Momo grabbed Kevin's hands, pleading with him to do something drastic. "Rip open my guts, Kevin, I can't stand it anymore," she pleaded, her voice filled with desperation and agony. Kevin was stunned, frozen in place by the horrific request. He looked into Momo's pain-filled eyes, his heart breaking at the sight. I can't do that, Momo," he stammered, his voice choked with tears. Momo sobbed harder, her pleas turning into desperate whimpers. "Please, Kev," she begged, clutching his hand tightly. It hurts so much." Her voice was barely audible, drowned out by her cries of pain. I can't hurt you, Momo," Kevin murmured, hugging her close. He felt her body shaking from the pain, and his heart ached with each of her sobs. He kissed her forehead gently, promising to support her. "I'm here, Momo. I won't leave you alone," he whispered, his voice filled with determination. He had to be strong for her. Kevin then cradled Momo in his arms, carrying her to her bedroom. He laid her down gently on the bed, pulling the covers over her. He stayed by her side, holding her hand, offering her silent support. Despite the excruciating pain, Momo eventually drifted off to sleep, her grip on Kevin's hand loosening. Kevin stayed awake, watching over her, praying that her pain would subside soon. With Momo finally asleep, Kevin felt a wave of exhaustion wash over him. He laid down beside her, his hand still holding hers. He closed his eyes, the image of Momo's pained face still etched in his mind. Throughout the night, Kevin kept vigil, waking up several times to check on Momo. Each time, he would squeeze her hand gently, whispering soothing words to her in her sleep. As dawn broke, Momo's cramps finally subsided. She woke up to find Kevin still by her side, holding her hand. She smiled weakly at him, grateful for his unwavering support. Kevin returned her smile, his eyes filled with relief. "How are you feeling?" he asked, his voice hoarse from lack of sleep. Momo simply squeezed his hand in response, her smile growing wider. "Better," Momo whispered, her voice still weak. "Thanks to you, Kev." She gave his hand another squeeze, her eyes filling with gratitude. Kevin simply nodded, his heart filled with relief. Kevin stayed with Momo throughout the day, making sure she was comfortable and had everything she needed. They spent the day in silence, the bond between them stronger than ever. By the end of the day, Momo was back to her usual self. She laughed and chatted with Kevin, the painful episode from the previous night all but forgotten. But for Kevin, it was a night he would never forget. That night, as they sat on their couch, Kevin looked at Momo. He saw not just his best friend, but a brave woman who had faced her pain with courage. He admired her strength and was proud to be her friend. Momo looked back at Kevin, seeing not just her best friend, but her rock, her pillar of strength. She was grateful for his unwavering support and knew she could always count on him. As they sat there, watching their favorite movie, they realized that their bond had only grown stronger. They'd faced the ultimate challenge and come out stronger on the other side. From that day forward, Kevin and Momo cherished their bond even more. They knew that no matter what challenges they faced, they would face them together. Their bond was truly unbreakable. That evening had changed them, strengthening their bond and deepening their friendship. They knew they could rely on each other in the face of adversity, and that was the beauty of their unbreakable bond. Their story is a testament to the power of friendship and the strength of the human spirit. They faced their fears, endured the pain, and came out stronger, and in the end their unbreakable bond held them together. Kevin Stewart and Momo Kawashima were excited. They were in Hitachinaka, Japan, visiting their favorite fast food joint, Burger King. The two friends shared a special love for the American-origin franchise's Whopper combos. Kevin approached the counter, a gleam in his eye. He ordered 15 Whopper combos, each coming in 3 sizes: the regular Whopper, the double Whopper, and the triple Whopper. His order was astonishingly large. The manager, overhearing Kevin's order, exclaimed in Japanese. His eyes widened, and he muttered a phrase that roughly translated to "holy motherfucking shit." He had never seen such a large order. Kevin didn't stop there, though. He asked the employee to supersize all the fries and sodas that came with the Whopper combos. The employee blinked in disbelief, then nodded, entering the request. Momo, watching the spectacle unfold, ordered a single Whopper combo for herself. She was shocked at Kevin's order, but also amused. They took their receipt and waited for their feast to be prepared. They decided to take their food to the Aqua World Ibaraki Oarai Aquarium, a beautiful place where they could enjoy their meal. The aquarium was just a short drive away, and the journey was filled with anticipation. As they were leaving Burger King with multiple bags of food, a limousine drove by. Inside were Justin Trudeau, Joe Biden, Fumio Kishida, and Emperor Naruhito. They were in town for a diplomatic meeting. The sight of Kevin and Momo with their arms full of Burger King bags caught their attention. The diplomatic quartet watched in disbelief. The size of the order was simply unfathomable. Justin and Joe, used to Western-style fast food, immediately recognized the Burger King logo. They too muttered, "Holy motherfucking shit," in unison, unable to believe what they were seeing. Fumio and Naruhito, more familiar with Japanese customs, were equally shocked. They voiced their disbelief in Japanese, saying, "Fucking hell." It was a sight to behold. The limousine passed by, leaving Kevin and Momo alone with their enormous order. They chuckled at the spectacle they had caused, then continued towards the aquarium, eager to start their feast. At the aquarium, they found a nice spot to sit and eat. The view of the marine life added a unique touch to their dining experience. It was a beautiful setting for an epic meal. They began to unpack their feast. The aroma of the burgers, the crunch of the fries, and the fizz of the soda made their mouths water. It was a fast food lover's paradise. Momo was content with her single combo, but Kevin was in his element. He started with the triple whoppers, savoring each bite. His love for the burger was evident. They spent hours at the aquarium, enjoying their food and the marine life. The memory of the unusual encounter with the diplomatic quartet made them chuckle every now and then. As the day ended, Kevin and Momo packed their leftover burgers. They decided to donate them to a local shelter, ensuring nothing went to waste. It was a satisfying end to an adventurous day. On their way back, they stopped by the Burger King once more. The staff greeted them with smiles, remembering their earlier order. The memory was a shared joke between them. The day had been an adventure. From the outrageous order to the diplomats' reactions, it was a day they would remember. They laughed and joked about it all the way home. The story of their Whopper adventure spread. Friends and family laughed at the tale, amazed at Kevin's appetite and the unexpected celebrity encounter. It was a story they loved to recount. Kevin and Momo cherished the memory. It was a testament to their friendship and love for Whoppers. It was a unique adventure that made their trip to Japan even more memorable. Their Whopper adventure was a testament to the unexpected joys of travel. They had not only experienced a new culture, but also created a unique memory that would last a lifetime. The story of their adventure spread among their friends and family. It was a tale that brought smiles and laughter, a story that would be told and retold for years to come. Kevin and Momo continued their travels, exploring new places and cuisines, but their Whopper adventure remained one of their favorite memories, a testament to their friendship and love for food. Their Whopper adventure became a part of their travel lore, a unique memory that made their trip to Japan unforgettable. It was a story that perfectly captured their shared love for food and adventure. Every time they passed a Burger King, they would share a knowing look. The memory of their Whopper adventure would always bring a smile to their faces, reminding them of their shared love for food and adventure. Kevin Stewart, a single man living in Warai, was going about his daily chores when Momo Kawashima walked into his apartment. He paused, looking at her in her school uniform, her face set and serious. "Kevin, I'm pregnant," she suddenly declared, causing him to drop the clothes he had been putting into the dryer. He was sure Momo was pulling a prank. His eyebrows furrowed as he tried to process the supposed news. He shook his head and said, "Momo, that's not funny. You shouldn't joke about such things." Momo calmly handed Kevin a letter, allegedly from the birthright of Warai. "I'm serious, Kevin," she stated firmly. "This is not a prank. Read this." Kevin reluctantly took the letter, his heart racing as he unfolded the paper. As if that wasn't enough, Momo added another bombshell. "My mum kicked me out, Kevin. I'm going to live with you," she said, looking at him earnestly. Kevin's world seemed to be flipping upside down. This was all too much. Anger surged within Kevin. This was too absurd. There were limits to a prank. "No, Momo," he said, his voice hard. "You absolutely cannot live here. This is my home, not a boarding house." In a fit of rage, Kevin grabbed a hammer from his toolbox. He turned to his dryer and began to unleash his fury on the large appliance. Each blow echoed in the otherwise silent room. Momo watched in shock. Momo looked at the destruction before her. Seeing Kevin so unhinged, she decided it was time to end the prank. "Kevin, stop," she said, raising her hands in surrender. "It was all a prank. I'm not pregnant. My mom didn't kick me out." Kevin ceased his attack on the dryer, looking at Momo with disbelief. Momo had pranked him before, but never to this extent. He felt heat rising to his face. He'd let her trick him into such embarrassment. He looked at the destroyed dryer, realization setting in. He had let his anger get the best of him. "Holy motherfucking shit!" he yelled, frustration and embarrassment seeping out of him. Momo winced at his outburst. He began the arduous task of moving the destroyed dryer out of his apartment. He grabbed a hand truck, struggling to get the broken machine onto it. Momo offered to help, but he dismissed her with a wave of his hand. The choruses of metal against concrete echoed through the stairwell. As he maneuvered the hand truck, the dryer wobbled before it came crashing down the stairs. It smashed through the railing, plummeting toward the ground floor. With a heart full of dread, Kevin darted down the stairs after the tumbling dryer. The scene that met him at the base of the building was beyond his worst nightmares. The decimated dryer had managed to crash onto a parked police car. The car looked like it had been in a horrible accident. The dryer lay smashed into the hood, the once clean paint now marred by dents and scrapes. His measly dryer had somehow managed to wreck a whole police vehicle. Shock kept him rooted to the spot, staring at the wrecked patrol car. The nearby officers were equally horrified, their eyes wide with disbelief. He could only echo his earlier sentiment. Holy motherfucking shit! A cloud of despair hung over him. His dryer was gone, and he would likely be facing a hefty fine to fix the police car damage. All this havoc because of a prank. Momo's prank. Momo, having followed him down, was now by his side, her face pale. When he finally found his voice, all he could manage was a weak, "Why, Momo?" He was still staring at the wreck, his heart heavy. Momo looked down, guilt written across her face. I didn't think it would go this far, Kevin. I'm sorry." But her apologies couldn't erase the disaster that had unfolded. In the end, her prank had spiraled out of control. The officers approached Kevin, their faces stern but sympathetic. Kevin braced himself for the inevitable reprimand, and perhaps even a fine or a court date. The joke had truly turned into a catastrophe. As Kevin dealt with the officers, Momo could only stand by helplessly. She hadn't intended for any of this. She just wanted to tease Kevin, give him a little shock. But she had ended up ruining his day completely. Later, in the quiet of his apartment, Kevin couldn't help but replay the day's events. His dryer was gone, and so was a chunk of his savings to pay for the police car. Momo's imprudent prank had cost him dearly. He sat alone in his living room, the silence deafening. He glanced at the empty space where his dryer had once stood. He sighed deeply, the reality of the situation sinking in. It was a day he would never forget. Momo, on her way home, felt a hollow pang in her heart. She had apologized, but it didn't seem enough. She looked at Kevin's apartment building one last time before walking away, regret heavy in her heart. Despite everything, Kevin found himself pitying Momo. She was young and reckless, but he knew she meant no harm. Even so, he resolved to have a serious talk with her about the consequences of thoughtless pranks. As the sun began to set, Kevin sat in the eerie silence of his apartment, alone with his thoughts. The day had been a complete disaster, and he hoped dearly that things would start looking up soon. That night, as Kevin sat in his quiet apartment, he swore to himself that he'd never let his emotions get the best of him again. It was a lesson harshly learned. Never underestimate the power of a prank gone wrong. Despite the anger and frustration, he was resolute about not letting this deter his relationship with Momo. He knew they needed to talk, and hopefully this incident would serve as a lesson for her as well. Momo, on the other hand, spent the night in deep remorse. She'd always been fond of pranks, but she had learned a stern lesson. There were consequences to everything, after all. The following days were tough for both Kevin and Momo. Kevin had to deal with the aftermath of the incident, while Momo had to face her guilt. Both were learning their lessons the hard way. However, the incident also strengthened their bond. It was a test of friendship, and both of them seemed mature enough to handle it gracefully. They understood each other better and respected each other's feelings. And so the prank that went horribly wrong taught a profound lesson, etched into their memories. While pranks could be fun, they also had the potential to spiral out of control, leading to unintended consequences. This was a lesson they would surely carry with them throughout their lives, the memory of a ruined dryer and a damaged police car serving as stark reminders. Indeed, it was a prank gone wrong, But with every incident, there's the potential for growth and learning. Kevin and Momo, despite the chaos they had gone through, had undergone a transformation. The incident had prompted them to think, feel, and act more maturely, and so they moved forward, carrying the lessons from the mishap. Battle-scarred and wiser, they navigated their path, knowing that their bond was stronger. It was a debt they owed to the prank that went wrong. As for the apartment, the space where the dryer once stood remained empty for a long while, serving as a silent reminder of the chaotic day. But time heals, and eventually a new dryer found its way into the apartment. Life moved on, as it always does. The incident became a memory, a glimpse from the past. Yet it was a shared experience, a significant chapter in their lives, reminding them of the lessons they learned from the prank gone wrong. Kevin Stewart rummaged through the fridge, tossing containers onto the linoleum floor. His face was a mask of frustration as he searched for the leftover turkey and dressing. His temper flared as he realized the food was missing. "Momo, where's the turkey?" he yelled, turning to his roommate, Momo Kawashima. "I fed it to the stray cats," Momo replied nonchalantly, not looking up from her book. Kevin's face turned a shade darker, his anger boiling over. In a fit of rage, Kevin grabbed the microwave and hurled it out the window. "Fuck the goddamn microwave!" he roared, leaving Momo unfazed. Their other roommate, Miho Nishizumi, along with friends Yoshika Miyafuji and Akino Misaki, arrived for dinner, walking into the chaotic kitchen scene. Kevin was still shouting, his angry tirade directed at the turkey, the mess on the floor, the destroyed microwave, and the broken window. He grabbed a toaster and hurled it across the room, his rage seemingly uncontrollable. The other women watched in wide-eyed horror and amusement. Suddenly a cat slinked in through the broken window, pulling on Kevin's pants. His rage redirected, Kevin shouted, "I'm going to kill me a fucking cat!" Momo finally put her book down and stood up, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to Kevin's rage. "Kevin, sit down. You're scaring the cat." The room fell silent as Kevin, still panting with rage, glared at the cat. He then turned his attention to Momo, his eyes flashing dangerously. Miho, Yoshika, and Akeno exchanged glances, unsure of what to do. They had never seen Kevin this angry before, and it was unsettling. Momo, however, seemed unfazed. She simply stared at Kevin, her eyes unblinking. "Kevin, you need to calm down. This is not healthy." Kevin stared at Momo, his anger fading slightly. He looked at the mess he made, then at the terrified cat. He let out a sigh, his shoulders slumping. I'm sorry," Kevin said, his voice barely audible. He looked at the floor, unable to meet anyone's gaze. The room was silent except for the purring cat. Momo nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "That's a start, Kevin. Now let's clean up this mess and order some pizza, shall we?" The rest of the evening was spent cleaning up the kitchen and laughing over pizza. Kevin even managed to apologize to the cat, much to everyone's amusement. As the night ended, Kevin felt a sense of relief. His anger had subsided, replaced by exhaustion and a newfound understanding of his temper. Momo patted his shoulder, her smile genuine. "See, Kevin, it's not so hard to control your anger. You just need to take a step back and breathe." Kevin nodded, taking her words to heart. He looked at the cat, now comfortably curled up on his lap, and couldn't help but smile. "Thanks, Momo." Momo gave him a nod of approval before walking away, leaving Kevin with his thoughts and the purring cat. The angry feast had ended, but the lesson was just beginning. As Kevin sat there stroking the cat, he realized that his anger had cost him more than just a meal. It had created chaos and scared his friends, but it had also given him an opportunity to learn and grow. He made a promise to himself that night to work on his anger to ensure it didn't control him, and as he looked at the cat, now purring contentedly in his lap, he couldn't help but smile. He had learned a valuable lesson that night, all thanks to a missing turkey and a stray cat. Kevin Stewart, once consumed by anger, now sat quietly with a cat in his lap. He was a changed man, and all it took was an angry feast to open his eyes. And so, in the quiet of the night, Kevin made a silent promise to himself. No more anger, no more chaos, just peace, understanding, and the occasional stray cat. After a long day at work, Momo Kawashima stepped into her apartment, her heart heavy with fatigue. Her home was usually a sanctuary, a place where she could unwind and forget about the world outside, but not today. She saw her roommate, Kevin Stewart, sitting on the couch. His brows were furrowed, his eyes sharp with anger. It was clear that he was upset about something. The issue was the Ariana Grande concert. Kevin had bought tickets for Momo's birthday a few weeks ago. But she hadn't attended. She simply didn't want to take time off work. Kevin felt betrayed and was demanding that Momo pay him back the $1,500 he had spent on the tickets. His voice echoed through the apartment, each word sharp and bitter. Just as their argument heated up, the door opened and Miho Nishizumi stepped inside. She was their other roommate, always the peacemaker in situations like these. Momo's temper flared and she tossed a cupful of water at Kevin. Her words were sharp, her resentment clear. "I'm a little bit tired of your ass," she spat out. Miho was taken aback by Momo's sudden outburst. She'd never seen Momo act this way before. She stood frozen in surprise, unable to react. Kevin's fury was now at its peak. He stormed over to the television, hitting it hard, causing it to topple over and fall with a loud crash. He then proceeded to stomp on the TV, cursing at Momo as he did so. His anger was palpable, and his actions were becoming increasingly reckless. In a fit of rage, Kevin picked up the now broken TV and tossed it out the open window of the apartment. The sound of shattering glass echoed throughout the room. As soon as the TV left his hands, Kevin seemed to snap out of his rage. He looked at his hands, his eyes wide with regret. "Why did I do this shit for?" he mumbled. Overcome by a sudden wave of guilt, Kevin fell to his knees, his body shaking with sobs. He buried his face in his hands, his anger replaced with remorse. Momo stood in shock, her anger replaced with a strange mix of confusion and pity. She had never seen Kevin this upset before. It was disconcerting. Miho rushed to Kevin's side, her arms wrapping around him in a comforting hug. She whispered soothing words to him, trying to calm him down. Momo watched them from a distance, her heart heavy with guilt. She realized that her refusal to go to the concert had caused all this chaos. She walked over to them slowly, her eyes filled with remorse. "Kevin, I'm sorry," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Kevin looked up at her, his eyes red from crying. He didn't say anything, but the look in his eyes told her that he heard her apology. Momo reached out and touched his arm gently. "I'll pay you back for the tickets and for the TV," she promised, her voice sincere. Miho gave Momo a small, appreciative smile. She knew that Momo was not one to make promises lightly. She had faith in her. Kevin nodded slowly, his gaze softening. It was clear that he was still hurt, but he seemed to appreciate Momo's efforts to make things right. The next few days were tense in the apartment. There was an unspoken tension that hung in the air, but they were all trying to move past the incident. Momo worked extra hours to pay Kevin back. She was tired, but she was determined to fix things. She wanted to regain Kevin's trust. Kevin was quieter than usual. He seemed lost in his thoughts most of the time, but he was making an effort to be civil with Momo. Miho played a crucial role in easing the tension. She cooked their favorite meals, organized movie nights, and tried to bring some normalcy back. Slowly but surely, things started to get better. The tension in the apartment eased. They were learning to trust each other again. Momo paid Kevin back for the concert tickets and the TV. She kept her promise, and in doing so she proved that she valued their friendship. Kevin thanked her for keeping her promise. His trust in her was slowly being restored. Their friendship was healing one step at a time. Miho breathed a sigh of relief. She was glad that things were finally getting back to normal. She had missed the peace and harmony in their home. Momo, Kevin, and Miho learned a valuable lesson through this incident. They learned about the importance of communication, trust, and forgiveness in a relationship. Their friendship had been tested, but they had come out stronger. They had managed to rebuild the trust they had lost. Their bond was now stronger than ever. And so life went on in the apartment. There were still disagreements and arguments, but they were handled better. They were more understanding, more forgiving. Momo, Kevin, and Miho continued to live together, their bond stronger than before. They had learned to value their friendship more than ever, and that was something truly special. The sun was setting as Kevin Stewart manned the barbecue, a spatula in his hand and an apron around his waist. He was a master of the grill, but today his mind was elsewhere. His roommates, Momo Kawashima and Miho Nishizumi, were lounging near the swimming pool, soaking up the last rays of the day. Their friends Yoshika Miyafuji and Akino Misaki arrived just in time to witness the scene. Yoshika, a lively girl with a wide smile, was the first to greet Kevin. Akino, quieter but equally friendly, followed suit. As Kevin chatted with Yoshika and Akino, the smell of burning food began to permeate the air. Momo, the first to notice, called out to Kevin, her words stinging more than the smoke from the grill. "Hey, fatso, the food is on fire." Her words, intended as a joke, cut deeper than she realized. Kevin's face turned as red as the embers on the grill, his usual jovial nature replaced by a hurt expression. In a fit of anger, Kevin tossed a burger at Momo before throwing the barbecue across the yard. The barbecue landed with a crash, scattering charred food and ashes everywhere. Momo, shocked at Kevin's reaction, retaliated. "You ruined dinner, you fat hog!" Kevin, already feeling wounded, was pushed over the edge by her words. He walked over to a beach chair, collapsed into it, and began to cry. Seeing Kevin like this, Miho rushed to his side. She wrapped her arms around him, trying to console him. The others could only watch in silence, the mood having shifted drastically. Miho then turned to Momo and asked her to apologize to Kevin. Momo, realizing the damage her words had caused, hesitated for a moment before approaching Kevin. Momo gave Kevin a kiss. It was a simple, fleeting gesture, but it held a world of meaning. She was sorry, not just for her words, but for the hurt she had caused him. Akano, sensing the need to lighten the mood, decided to order pizza. She knew it wouldn't solve everything, but at least it would fill the void left by the ruined barbecue. As they waited for the pizza, the group tried to salvage the evening. They chatted, laughed, and for a while it felt like the barbecue disaster had never happened. When the pizza arrived, they gathered around the table, a newfound camaraderie hanging in the air. They ate in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Kevin, having calmed down, looked at Momo. He asked her why she had kissed him. Momo, surprised by the question, was at a loss for words. Momo blushed, her teasing facade crumbling. She confessed that she cared for Kevin more than she had let on. Her words, honest and heartfelt, hung in the air. Kevin was taken aback. He had always seen Momo as a friend, but her confession had stirred something in him. He realized that he too had feelings for her. As the evening came to an end, the friends left the table with a new understanding of each other. They realized that their friendships had grown deeper, stronger, and more complicated. The next day, the friends worked together to clean up the mess from the barbecue. Despite the work, they were all in high spirits, their bonds having been strengthened by the previous night's events. Kevin and Momo found themselves alone. They talked, not just about what had happened, but about their feelings for each other. It was a conversation that had been long overdue. Momo apologized again for her harsh words. Kevin, in turn, apologized for his overreaction. They agreed to put the past behind them and start afresh, as more than just friends. Their friends were supportive, happy to see Kevin and Momo taking a step forward. They knew it wouldn't be easy, but they believed in their friends and their newfound relationship. Over the next few weeks, Kevin and Momo navigated their new relationship. There were awkward moments, misunderstandings, but also lots of laughter and shared moments. Their friends, while supportive, also teased them relentlessly. Despite the teasing, Kevin and Momo knew they could always count on their friends to have their backs. As the summer days passed, their relationship grew stronger. They learned to communicate better, to understand each other's feelings, and to support each other. One evening, Kevin and Momo sat by the pool watching the sunset. They held hands, their fingers intertwined, a symbol of their bond. It was a moment of peace, a moment of understanding. Kevin turned to Momo and told her that he was glad for the barbecue disaster. He was glad because it had led to their confession and ultimately to their relationship. Momo, touched by Kevin's words, smiled at him. She confessed that she too was glad for the disaster. It had been a catalyst for their relationship, a necessary push for them to acknowledge their feelings. As they sat there, watching the sunset, they realized that they had come a long way. They had grown as individuals and as a couple, their bond stronger than ever. Kevin held Momo closer, their bodies fitting together perfectly. He knew he had found something special in Momo, and he was determined to cherish it. Momo rested her head on Kevin's shoulder, feeling at peace. She knew she had found something special in Kevin, and she too was determined to cherish it. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Kevin and Momo made a promise to each other. They promised to face whatever came their way together, their hearts forever intertwined. Life was unpredictable as a barbecue disaster. But Kevin and Momo knew that, as long as they had each other, they could face anything, and that was all that mattered. Momo Kawashima and Kevin Stewart were partners in every sense of the word. They both loved challenges, and their adventurous spirit brought them together. Their shared adrenaline rush was their unique bond, their love language. One sunny afternoon, Momo proposed an unconventional challenge. She decided to swim in their pool fully clothed in her school uniform. Kevin, always supportive of Momo's ideas, agreed to the challenge. As Momo prepared to plunge into the water, Kevin added an unexpected twist. He tied weights around Momo's waist, increasing the difficulty of the task. Momo looked at Kevin, her eyes shining with excitement, and nodded. With a swift push from Kevin, Momo plunged into the pool. The water embraced her and she started to swim. But soon, the weight tied around her waist began to pull her down. Momo struggled against the pull, gasping for breath. She tried to remove the weights, her fingers fumbling with the knots. Kevin watched from the edge of the pool, his face paling as he realized the danger Momo was in. Momo's body began to convulse, her face turning pale as she coughed. The fun challenge had turned into a dangerous situation. Kevin, filled with panic, prepared to dive in to save Momo. Just as Kevin was about to dive in, Momo managed to free herself from the weights. She swam towards the surface, her lungs screaming for air. Kevin, relieved, swam towards her, ready to pull her out. Momo broke the surface, gasping for air. Kevin reached her side, wrapping an arm around her to help her to the edge of the pool. Despite the scary situation, Momo's face was lit with exhilaration. As she clung to the edge of the pool, Momo turned to Kevin and spoke of the rush she had experienced. She would do it again, she said. Kevin, relieved that she was safe, could only shake his head in disbelief. Momo gave Kevin a quick kiss, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Kevin, still in shock, simply stared at her. He knew they would continue their adventures, but next time he would insist on safer challenges. They emerged from the pool, Momo's school uniform clinging to her and Kevin's shirt soaked. Despite the frightening experience, their bond grew stronger. Their love for challenges and each other remained unshaken. In the end, Kevin and Momo's adventure served as a reminder of the importance of safety. It was a lesson learned in the hardest way, but their shared experience and the love they had for each other helped them overcome the fear. As they laid on the pool deck, looking at the clear sky, they promised to never let their love for adventures endanger their lives again. They held hands, the warmth of their fingers intertwined, offering reassurance and love. They knew they would continue to face challenges and push their limits. But they also knew they would do it together, hand in hand, always looking out for each other. After all, their love was their biggest adventure. The night had started off quite innocently with Kevin Stewart, Momo Kawashima, and Miho Nishizumi gathered around the low table in their shared apartment, sake in hand. They were all in high spirits, laughing and chatting about their day. Suddenly, Momo let out a gut-wrenching fart. The room fell silent, and then Kevin and Miho burst into laughter. Momo looked slightly embarrassed, but couldn't help joining in the laughter. Kevin, trying to suppress his laughter, said, "Wow, Momo, that was legendary. You've put my farts to shame." This only made Momo and Miho laugh harder. The laughter had barely subsided when Momo let out another, even more gut-wrenching fart. She immediately stood up, her face turning a shade of red, and said, "Guys, I think I just shit myself." Kevin and Miho were doubled over with laughter, but they managed to get up and help Momo make her way to the washroom, their laughter echoing through the apartment. As they were heading toward the washroom, Miho let out a fart that could rival Momo's. Kevin looked at her and asked, "Did you shit yourself too, Miho?" Miho, still laughing hysterically, started to feel something was off. "Oh no," she said, her laughter dying down. "I think I did." Now it was Kevin's turn to laugh uncontrollably. Just then, Kevin let out a fart that was as gut-wrenching as the girls. His laughter abruptly stopped, and he looked at them in shock. "I think I shit myself too." The apartment was filled with laughter and fart noises for a while, as they cleaned themselves up and changed their clothes. Kevin, Momo, and Miho couldn't help but keep laughing at the ridiculousness of the situation. Once they were cleaned up, they returned to the table and resumed their sake night, their faces still red from all the laughter. They couldn't help but giggle every time one of them made a move to stand up. Suddenly all three of them farted at the same time and the room fell silent. Then they felt it. They looked at each other in horror and then burst out laughing. They had all crapped their pants again. They spent the rest of the night cleaning up, laughing and occasionally farting. It was a night they would never forget, filled with laughter, embarrassment, and lots of farts. As the night grew quiet, Kevin, Momo, and Miho sat back down with fresh drinks in hand. They were exhausted but still couldn't stop laughing. The air was thick with the smell of sake and farts. "This has been the most embarrassing yet funniest night of my life," Miho admitted, wiping a tear from her eye. Kevin and Momo nodded in agreement, their stomachs hurting from all the laughter. As they slowly started to sober up, they made a pact to never speak of this night again outside of their apartment. After all, who would believe that a simple sake night could turn into a farting competition? Yet despite the embarrassment and the mess they had to clean up, they agreed that it was one of the best nights they had spent together. The laughter, the camaraderie, and the memory of their shared embarrassment was priceless. As they finally settled down to sleep, the apartment was filled with the scent of sake and the lingering sound of laughter. They knew that they would wake up the next day with sore stomachs and embarrassing memories, but they also knew that they wouldn't change a single thing about that night. The next morning, they woke up with a hangover and a funny story to tell. They made breakfast together, occasionally exchanging knowing glances and bursting into fits of laughter. As they sat down to eat, Kevin raised his glass of orange juice and said, "To the farting trio." They all clinked their glasses together, chuckling at the ridiculousness of the toast. That day, they spent the entire day together, reminiscing about the previous night and making plans for their next sake night. They knew it would be hard to top the hilarity of the farting trio, but they were willing to try. As the day drew to a close, they made a promise to each other. No matter how embarrassing or ridiculous their adventures would get, they would always be there for each other through thick and thin, through farts and laughter. That night, as they went to bed, they couldn't help but laugh at the memory of the previous night. They knew that they had created a memory that would last a lifetime, a memory that would always bring a smile to their faces. The following night, they decided to have another sake night. They were a little apprehensive, but they knew that no matter what happened, they would always have each other's back. After all, they were the farting trio. As they poured the sake and raised their glasses, they couldn't help but chuckle. They were ready for whatever the night had in store for them. They were the farting trio, and they were ready to take on the world. The night ended as it always did, with laughter and camaraderie. They didn't care about the embarrassments or the messes they had to clean up. All they cared about was the laughter, the memories, and the bond they shared. As they finally drifted off to sleep, they couldn't help but smile. They were the farting trio, and they wouldn't have it any other way. They knew that no matter what, they would always have each other, and that was all that mattered. In the end, it wasn't about the farts or the embarrassment. It was about the laughter, the memories, and the bond they shared. They were the farting trio, and they were proud of it. Stewart, Momo Kawashima, and Miho Nishizumi were engrossed in Monday Night Raw, their favorite wrestling show. The atmosphere was electric as they were anticipating the unexpected return of their favorite wrestler, The Rock. Suddenly, amidst the excitement, Kevin collapsed. The room fell silent as Momo and Miho stared at Kevin, sprawled on the floor, unconscious. They were horrified by the sight. Without wasting a moment, Momo dialed 911, her hands shaking. Miho was trying to revive Kevin, patting his cheeks gently and calling his name. Their joyous evening had turned into a nightmare. Meanwhile, their friends Yoshika Miyafuji and Akino Misaki rushed over to their house. When they arrived, they froze in fear at the sight of Kevin's state. The once vibrant room was now filled with tension and fear. The blaring sirens of the ambulance filled the quiet night as paramedics arrived. They quickly took over the situation, their skilled hands working efficiently. The sight of Kevin being wheeled away made the girls sob uncontrollably. They followed the ambulance to the hospital, their hearts filled with dread. The usually chatty group was silent, each lost in their thoughts. The hospital's cold, sterile environment only added to their anxiety. After waiting for what felt like an eternity, a doctor finally came out. His solemn face confirmed their worst fears. Kevin had suffered a massive heart attack and was now in a coma. The doctor explained that Kevin's heart attack was so severe that he had only a few hours to live. They could only wait and hope for a miracle. The news felt like a punch to their stomachs. Despite the bleak prognosis, they refused to lose hope. They spent the night in the hospital, praying for Kevin's recovery. Their prayers seemed to be answered. When the next morning Kevin woke up from his coma, the journey to recovery was long and challenging. Kevin had to undergo several surgeries and extensive rehabilitation, but he was a fighter. He was determined to return to his normal life, no matter how arduous the path. His friends were with him every step of the way. They visited him regularly, bringing him his favorite snacks and keeping him company. Their visits were the highlights of Kevin's days, giving him the strength to keep fighting. After many months of hardship, Kevin was finally released from the hospital. It was a joyous day. His friends and family showered him with love and affection, expressing their relief and happiness at his recovery. When they got home, Kevin was welcomed with a surprise party. The house was filled with laughter and joy. Kevin was moved by the love and support he received from his friends and family. Among the guests was none other than The Rock himself. Kevin was starstruck. He had always admired The Rock, and to see him in person was a dream come true. At that moment, Kevin decided to make another dream come true. He took Momo by the hand and in front of all their friends and family asked her to marry him. It was a moment of pure joy and happiness. Momo, surprised and teary-eyed, accepted his proposal. The room erupted in cheers and applause. It was a perfect end to a perfect day. They all knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in Kevin's life. The next few months were filled with wedding preparations. Momo and Kevin were busy planning their dream wedding. Despite the stress and chaos, they were happy. They were finally getting there happily ever after. The day of the wedding finally arrived. The venue was beautifully decorated, reflecting the couple's taste and love for each other. Friends and family gathered to witness the union of Momo and Kevin. The highlight of the wedding was the person who officiated their marriage, The Rock. Seeing their idol, who had unintentionally played a major role in their story, made the moment even more special for the couple. As they exchanged their vows, they were filled with a sense of contentment and joy. They had faced the worst together and had come out stronger. They knew that no matter what life threw at them, they would face it together. Their friends and family cheered as they sealed their vows with a kiss. The room was filled with love and happiness. It was a day they would remember forever. The night ended with a grand party. Everyone danced and celebrated the union of Momo and Kevin. It was a night filled with love, laughter, and a lot of dancing. As they looked around at their loved ones, Kevin and Momo couldn't help but feel grateful. They had faced a life-altering event, but they had come out of it stronger and more in love. It was a testament to their resilience and the power of love. Their story was a reminder that life is unpredictable and things can change in an instant. But with determination, love, and a little help from your friends, and sometimes your idols, you can overcome anything. The night ended with Kevin and Momo dancing under the stars, lost in their own world. As they held each other close, they knew they were ready to face whatever life threw at them. As long as they had each other,